Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. Welcome to this conference. My name is Indira Bandari, and I am a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. Today, I am going to show you about how to build interactive dashboards using Microsoft Excel. You will not be using any third-party add-ins or any VBA. VBA code is also not required. Before we start, I just want to give you an introduction about myself. I started my career in New Zealand way back in 2002, and from then onwards till 2015 I was carrying on with my work, playing different roles like CRM developer, senior systems analyst, information analyst, and BI developer. And from 2015 onwards I started giving back to the community, like from being a co-organizer for Power BI meetup and also Auckland AI meetup, and also speaking at various conferences and helping friends to get back to the IT field. In 2020, with the COVID thing, I have a passion to teach kids in about technology, right from coding to game development to databases and Power BI. So I started a Kids Tech Charitable Trust to teach kids, and now I'm working as a senior data consultant in Datacom in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand. So let's see what we can learn today. I'm going to show you how to build a dashboard. So to build a dashboard, what are the things that we need? We need to have I will show you how to what the preferred data structure is, and what are the rules for building it fast and smart, and also there is no VBA required as mentioned earlier, and also how to add dynamic labels and adding slicers to introduce interactivity, update in within minutes or maybe in seconds if you have more data to update in the same tables, and also how to protect the dashboard, protect dashboard protection, and also the themes. And if you want to contact me, my contact is displayed in these in the footer. So let's see what the data that I'm going to just talk about the data that we are going to use today. I have picked up this global superstore Excel file. The link will be there in the last slide of the presentation, and I will share this with you. This Excel file has 3 sheets. First one is the orders sheet, where there are 51,290 rows and 24 columns, and there is another sheet called people, which is called which has 13 rows and 2 columns, and there is also a returns sheet which has 1173 rows and 3 columns. Okay, now what I want to show you is how to build this dashboard from the data. We will have a year slicers, country slicer, and market slicer, and we can do a chart for sales by category, and also a pie chart for sales by category, I think, yeah, and which displays the percentage as well, and sales total and trend by region. And also this is a map where if you select country like Australia, it will take you to that country. Let me select Australia. Yeah, so it is highly interactive. Let's try and build this and see where we get to. So let's go back to the PowerPoint slides that I have. First thing is, what is the preferred data structure? So it is recommended that you create separate worksheets for data. So for example, the sample file has orders data in orders sheet and people data in people sheet and returns data in return sheet. And as and when you create the charts, make sure you create each chart and each pivot table for each analysis in a separate sheet. So one pivot table and pivot chart in one sheet. So for example, if we want to calculate the sales by region, then we will have sales by region pivot and sales by region pivot chart in one Excel sheet. And then the dashboard can be done after we create all the pivot charts, then we can do the dashboards. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So what are the rules that can be kept in mind to build the dashboards quickly? First is we need to define tables. I know Excel sheets are not tables. I'll show you the difference. And first step is defining the tables, and the second step is create pivot tables based on your analysis, and then create pivot charts based on the pivot tables. And also the last step will be the slicers, and the slicers are available from Excel 2016 version onwards. I hope people are using Excel 2016 and not less 16 and more and not lesser version. Okay, let's move on to the demo. Here what I have is the orders sheet, and I have separated November to December 2014 data from the order sheet so that I can show you the dynamic way of refreshing the dashboard. And there is returns sheet here which has the return details, and also the people sheet with just 2 rows with the person and region. So we'll be using this data to build our dashboard. So first, going back to the orders, what is the first step? First step is to create a table. So let's create a table. So I'm just going to select this sheet, the data in this sheet. So in order to quickly select, what I do is I put my cursor in the A1 cell and then Control Shift right arrow to select till the end column, and then Control Shift down arrow to select all the data that is in this sheet, and that is those are 46,991 rows, because I have separated some of the rows in this tab. So what I do is the first step, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint, is to create a table. So I can either go and insert and then go table, or what I can do is I can just press Ctrl and T to create the table, to define the table. So I'm just pressing Ctrl T. So it is asking whether your data has headers. My data has headers, so I just tick that, and then is this the range for your table? Yes, that is the range, and I'm saying OK. So once I say OK, the table is defined. You can see that the format also changed, the color theme has changed, and here you can change. If you want to make more changes, you can do that. What I'll do is I'll just name this table name as orders, because that is the table name. So I'm just going to rename that table name as orders. Okay, let's now first build this sales by category line chart. So let's go back to our data, so which is in here. So I'm just going to click in here and anywhere in the table, within the table, and say insert pivot tables. So it's going to it's going to suggest the data range as orders because we have already named it as a table. And then I'm going to choose a new worksheet because I want to keep it separate. So I'm just going to create that, and I'm just going to say category pivot because that's what category pivot. Okay, now this is showing the rows, and we have to add our fields in here, rows, columns and values. So the sales category in the dashboard that we have seen that it's sales by category by month. So let's put order date here into the rows, and from Excel 2016 onwards it has inbuilt hierarchy or summary, and what we want is the category. So let's browse through the category and then put that in here. So we are getting category by years. So what we want is not the years but by the months, right? So what we can do is maybe I'll just go a bit further. I'll just remove the category, and since Excel has a automatic grouping, I want to show you if the grouping doesn't exist. So I'll just say ungroup here. So now you can see the dates, and now I want to group them by month and year. So right click on anywhere, any date, and then say group. So once you say group, it automatically is going to months here, group and months, and control click and years, and you can go. So now you can see that it is grouped by years and months. Now what I need is the category. So I will use the category in the columns. So category in the columns. And what are the values? Values is sales. So if I just go in here, now you get the sales columns. Now I want to get the format right, because once we get the format right here, the chart will automatically take the formatting from the pivot table. So in order to do that, what I do is right click, format cells, and go to currency and decimal places 0. So I'll copy this format and then apply this to and again if you double click you will have this, and then you can apply the same here. So now the formatting is applied, and now we can create the pivot chart. So for that we'll just go into pivot table and then pivot table analyze tab, and then we are going to choose a chart. Let me bring that down here. So we want a line chart, so we can just choose a line chart and then click OK. So I'm just going to move this here a bit, and then we can format the chart the way we want. So what I'll do is I'll just right click on here and hide all field buttons on the chart. So that will remove all the, and relocate my legend to the top. So come to the legend and then click on the arrow, and then the legend will go to the top. And I want to also add a chart title called sales by category. So I'm going to add that, sales by category, and I'm going to relocate my title a bit. And this one I'll resize a bit and then move it to the top right, I'm not messing around too much with the formatting at this stage. We can do all that later. Okay, now what we will do is we'll go and see what the next chart is. Let's pick up sales by region. So sales by region, so again I'm going to go into orders tab. Okay, to do that, what I'm going to do is, because it is better to use the same copy of the pivot table, to use the pivot cache. So what we'll do is, I'm just going to copy this one. So right click on the category pivot table and create a copy. Click on create a copy, and then I'll just go okay, and then rename this to region pivot. Region pivot. And now what we need to do is go into this pivot table, and instead of years and order dates, what you can do is you can just change that to region. So region comes in the rows and the rest remains the same. That way your formatting also is not changed. Now let's change the chart type because it's a different format. So right click on the chart and then change chart type, and I want it by bar. Yeah, this is the format I want, so I'll just go and choose that format. Usually bar charts are used when you have long names like this, and now what I want to do is I want to just delete the legend, because I'm going to use a legend that is common to everything in the report. So choose the legend, and I want to sort this by grand total. Okay, so looks like the formatting is not complete here, so let's do the formatting part. I'm just going to highlight the entire thing and right click format cells and go to currency, and then choose zeros for the decimal places, and click on the grand total, and then right click and sort from smallest to largest. One thing I forgot to mention when I created the pivot the two pivot tables is to name the pivot tables. So let's go to each pivot table and name the pivot tables. So in order to name the pivot tables, go into the click anywhere inside the pivot table and go to pivot table analyze, and go to the pivot table area, and once you click on the drop down you get the pivot table 1. So I'm going to name this as category P, and also the chart. If I go and pivot chart into the pivot chart analyze, click on the chart and pivot chart analyze, and then you get the chart name here. So I can say category C, so that it is the chart category C. And let's go to the region pivot and do the same thing. So go to the click inside the pivot table, go to pivot table analyze, click on the drop down of pivot table and name that pivot table 1 to region P, and similarly do the same thing for the chart. I should actually rename this title to sales by region, and also rename the chart. So go to click on the chart and go to pivot chart analyze and click on the chart name and then rename it to region C. So we have done all the renames. Now let's go and find out which one to do here. So let's go and maybe do the sales total and trend by region pivot, and move our copy and create a copy and rename that to, let's say, Sparklines pivot chart, pivot sheet, and also rename this pivot. I'm going to delete this graph And if we go back and look at this chart here, this has all trend pivot, furniture pivot, office supplies pivot, and category pivot. So 1 2 3 4 pivots. Break the rule of one pivot table in one sheet and create all 4 sheets here, 4 charts, pivot tables here. So okay, let's do that. We have the region in the same place, so we don't need to change the region. What I want to change around here is move the category to the filters, and also move the year and month to the columns. So it is actually summarized by only years. What I want to do is how we ungrouped and got the months and years. I'm going to ungroup again and get the date, and then regroup to get both months and years. So I'll just select years and then say OK, and now you can see that the region is there with year and month. Now what I want to do is I want to remove all the subtotals and grand totals. So for that I just go into the subtotals and do not show subtotals, and also I want to make sure that this is sorted by in an ascending order. So just wanted to make sure it is already sorted. Okay, so now this data is looking good. Yeah, I need to make sure that the grand totals are also off. And okay, now what I want to do is some of the regions have do not have data, but I want to make sure that they appear as rows in this region. So what I will do is so right click on the region and go to the field settings, and under the layout and print tab just tick on the show items with no data. That will ensure that even though if there is no data, the row appears here. Now let me make sure that this pivot table has a name. So I'll just go into the pivot table analyze and change the region pivot to Sparkline total as the name, because this is for all categories. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this whole pivot and paste it underneath, and I will change the filter to just furniture, and I will rename this pivot to Sparklines furniture. So I'll just going to rename this to Sparkline furniture, line furniture, and again make a copy of it is still copied, so I'll just go and paste another copy and change that filter to office supplies and say OK, and rename this filter to Sparklines office, and again another copy, and then I'll change that to the last one, technology, and rename this pivot table to Sparkline tech. So the next one we are going to create is the pivot for the pie chart. Just copy the region pivot table, create a copy, and then rename that to pie pivot, the region. So I'm just going to delete, and we just need the category in the rows. So it looks like this. Okay, now we have the sum of sales, but what I also want to have is the percentage of sales. So for that, what I do is I'll just add my sales again into the values, and what I'll do is I right click here and then show values as percentage of grand total. If you want to, you can format it to remove the decimal places, but for now I'm just leaving that as it is. I'm going to rename this to sales percent. I can just name that there, sales percent, and say OK, and also make sure that I rename my pivot chart to pie pivot. So now I'm going to insert my pie chart from the charts and choose the pie and just insert it, and I'll get rid of everything here. I hide all buttons. I don't want the legend, I don't want this thing, and then try and resize it by, that's all. I'm not going to do anything else for this chart now. Next, what we need to do is the map pivot. So it doesn't matter again which chart we copy, so maybe I just copy this one, again move or copy, and then create a copy, and then I'll just name this to map pivot. So I'll get rid of the region chart here, and for the pie chart, for the map pivot, what I need is the region information, and I don't need the category, but what I prefer to have is the country information. So I'll drag the country into the rows, and also in terms of region, I'll just remove the region because there is a state in the, okay, I'll remove the region and add the state. So country, region, I'll drag this off, yeah, and then I have country and state. Now what I'll do is for maps, for map charts, we need the data in a tabular format and not in a pivot table format. So to change that, I right click on Afghanistan and go to the field settings, and again go to the layout and print tab, and here you can see that there is a show item labels in tabular form, so we can just show that. Yeah, and also make sure that we need to make sure that the country also appears in all the rows. So what we need to do for that is again go into field settings and then layout and printer, and make sure you tick on the repeat item labels. That way you can get into a tabular format. And I will paste it as values, paste special and values on the side, and then based on this, I have copied only. Now you can see the data being copied. Now what I'll do is I'll insert a map chart. So what I'll do is go to insert, and there is 3D maps here. No, not the 3D maps, but the maps inside the charts, and then I will insert a filled map here, and then now it is getting the data here. Okay, now that the chart is created, what I'll do is I'll change the data to point to back to the pivot table, the pivot tabular table. So here, if I go and look at the data here, it is showing E to G. So what I'll do is I'll just change that to A to C. Now what we can do is get rid of the new data that we have. Now we can see that the map chart is using the pivot table. So what I'll do is I'll just get Control Shift and down, and also I want to change the map color to a bit of monochromatic color. So I'll just go to the chart design, and let's say I can have this kind of chart monochromatic kind of design, so that it doesn't get mixed up with the other colors that we are using for this one. So we have the pie chart, we have the sales by category, we have the trend line, and also the sales by region. So I think we have all these, so we can start our dashboard page. So let's go and do our dashboard page. Dashboard, and normally how I like these dashboards is to be at the front, right at the front. So I'm just going to move it right to the front workings. So now go to view and get rid of the grid lines. So grid lines, I'm going to get rid of the grid lines so that we have a blank page. And the next step is we will apply some formatting to this sheet. So I'm just going to increase the first row here, and then highlight some columns, and then give a background fill here. So maybe I will start typing maybe global superstore sales dashboard, and format this a little bit, just increase a bit of the heading, and also realign it. And I would like to change the font to white. Maybe, yeah, white looks good. And now we can start copying the charts one by one. Let me copy the pivot, pie pivot. Just go copy, and not copy, sorry, cut from there and paste it here. You can paste randomly and rearrange it. You can rearrange it later. Sparklines, I need to come back to them. So let's go to region pivot, Control C, and go to dashboard and copy it and repivot. So I'm just going to paste it somewhere here, and next comes our map pivot. Cut this, and so I just put sales by region here, and also readjust the map here. have a glimpse of what is there now. I think now we have got 1 2 3 4, all 4 here. Okay, now I'm going to cheat a bit. I'm just going to copy this 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 so that I don't need to type again. So I'm just going to copy this one and paste this here and align the map with the upper end of the data. Okay, so now let's see how we can copy the this pivot table charts, the sparkline charts. First, what I need is the region. So I need to get the region from the sparklines pivot, but I want to cater for errors. So what I'm going to use is a if function. So if I'll point this to the first region, that is I need to go to the total first, so I'll just go back to the total and then get the total region, Canada equals blank, then display blank. I'm just going to go to the sparklines here and let's see what is there in the formula. So if sparklines A6 is blank, then return blank, otherwise we need to return whatever is there in here. So I'm just going to copy this one and then Control C and paste it here. Let's see what comes. So Canada is coming. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this over to get all the regions from that particular sheet. Central, yeah, I think till central. So we have got the region here. Okay, now I want to copy the values for all categories. All categories, I'm going to use another pivot table for all category data. So what I'll do is I want to cater for errors as well. So equals again if, and then I will use the region pivot which has the grand total. So I'll use that, and it is blank, return blank. Let's go to the dashboard sheet so that we can see the formula. Is equal to blank, then return blank, otherwise return this. But only thing is the Canada is hard coded, so we don't want that. So what we will do is we will remove that Canada and then reference it with this cell here. So it is showing the dashboard C13 as the reference. So here also we will do the same. Remove that and click here. We got the Canada total. And if we now, because we have changed the references for the hard coded region, it's giving us the correct results here. And we can just format that to currency. Click and format cells currency, and I don't want to display 2 decimal places, 0. Okay, so we have now copied the category trend. Okay, so now the next one, what I want to do is put some data bars here so that it is more visible. To the home tab and conditional formatting and data bars, and I will choose a solid fill, and also I want to change the color to to something monochromatic, because blue means furniture for us. To do that, I'm going to go back into conditional formatting and go to manage rules, and then change the gradient fill to something maybe like this, so that it changes to a black or a grayish color. Now let's look at including the all trends, all categories. So what I'll do is I will select the column and insert the sparklines for all the trends. So to insert the sparklines, just go into insert sparklines like this. Underneath the sparklines tab there is a line, so I'm going to choose the line, and we need to provide the date range here. So let's just click on that and then choose the data that you want. So I'm going to go into sparklines, all category, choose all the data. We just need to select, and I will allow for a bit more to select, because if we add more data, we can just the sparklines just appear. Just refresh and go back there, and location range we already selected, and see now we have the trend here with some space over here. So I'll do the same for all the three categories: furniture, office supply, and the supplies and technology. Insert sparklines, range, go to sparkline sheet, find the furniture data and say OK. And also for the next one, select the data, insert sparklines, choose the range. This time I chose a bit more for office supplies, and then similarly for technology. So I'm just highlighting this one, go to insert sparklines, give the range, and then choose OK, and then go back here. So you have all the sparklines for all the categories and the total. Now we just need to change the colors of the sparklines to reflect the legend. So all trend, I'm going to change it to gray, and furniture I'll leave it as blue, and office supplies I'm going to change it to orange, and technology I'll change it to green. Okay, I think we are nearly there. Now we will add slices. So for us to add slices, there are several ways in Excel. The way I'm going to add slicer is go to insert tab and add slicer. This will show all the pivot table fields, and we can choose what we want. So one I will choose as region, the other one as market, and the other one as country. And then if I say OK, they will get generated and aligned. You can also hold Alt to lock them there and move it. Now we will add a legend that is common to everything. So instead of having a legend here, we will add a legend here. So I'm going to use a rectangle, insert, and illustrations, shapes, and I'm just going to use a rectangle. First one is furniture, so I'll add a text box with it and go insert again, illustrations, text is here, so we can go insert and text box, and here, and we can just expand it and write furniture there. change the font color and move it a bit, and then control hold down shift and then create a copy by clicking on control. Just drag it and then you can make couple of copies. So this one you can change the color to office supplies color. Office supply color is a bit green, so you can change that and then go office supplies. I think when I changed the theme everything changed. So, and then this one is technology. Technology is dark green, so change the fill color to lighter. Okay, so that way you can build the legend. It's just you get the idea. So I think we are done most of it. Now what is remaining is to add the dynamic labels for the pie chart. So the way we would do it is come back to the pie pivot, and here I have already added the formula for the labels. I'll just do a wrap text here so that how you are going to see that. In the formula what I have done is I have just concatenated furniture and sum of sales with the get pivot data reference, and in between I have given a char 10 which gives the enter, gives a line break, and also added the 33%. So it's just a concatenation of these three values. So that is for furniture, that's for office supplies, and that's for technology. And the way we are going to add this in the dashboard is go to the dashboard and add a text box. Click here and then just expand the text box by, and then now come up here and then add a formula by referencing that cell. So I'm going to start with equals and then go to pie pivot and then pie pivot and enter. See, now you can see the furniture, the label here. So similarly I will just copy this one and paste it near the furniture. That is for furniture, and this one will be for office supplies. So let's go back, and I think it is E4. If I do that, then office supplies has changed, and this one is technology. I'll just go and change the cell reference to E5 so that it's technology. Now one last thing what we need to do is link the slicers to all the charts. At the moment it is just linked to the sales category, so only the sales category is when I click on Africa, only the sales category is changing. So in order to connect all the slicers to all the chart elements, right click on the slicer and click on report connections, and you can see that only the category pivot is connected. So that's the reason we have to also name our pivot tables and pivot charts properly. So I'm going to click everything so that is going to react properly. So if I go Africa now, see now everything gets changes, and I think we need to fix this based on is error, so if error. So you get the idea. Now I think we are almost near an hour, so I'm going to wrap up here. So we have learned how to create an interactive dashboard by creating even the legend as dynamic labels, and also all these charts. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, you let me know.